Well, hello everyone. Yeah, it's like talk to you about this. Like the pace story is talking about right here is this the coloring right here is like talking about is like pace story, and what I got drawn right here of course will be is like a story is talking about back when I was young that of course if I would be it's like working with to say if it's a crayon if it's like crayon, maybe the kind that they make, nowadays. It's like with the special, you say, color utensil. It is something like that. It's something that you can. It's like knowing about shape of my hand, anything that knowing about. Say if it was crayons or if it was stencil art or anything like that. But talking about, and of course you got the pencil, and then you got right here is the pen, of course. But back when I was in school, I can remember that a lot of times if I was nervous, and a lot of times I would maybe do a little bit of this as well. Maybe wear my glasses, like this. It's like knowing about this. More likely would look more like my school look right here is knowing about with me that I would sometimes do this, and then whenever I would be nervous about something, and then I would kind of do this, and then of course curl my hands like this. If I was excited about something, a lot of times I can remember I used to go like this, like, and then a lot of people would probably think about what you doing, man? What you doing? But and some therapists, some doctors or counselors or whoever that I remember that what usually think about is like that's normal. I guess that's kind of say I say abnormal behavior for like what you call is for a child is knowing about whenever they get excited or mad about something that they may do a little bit of this or they may have interactions like this right here. Like if you're excited about something or something like that. But then of course is that you have is talking about what you say is for pacing. And I know with most of my doctors and knowing about this is like that. I know my parents can probably say that you used to like to pace the floor a lot of times whenever I was younger. It is, but then just knowing about the fact that that it's like with the artwork that I got right here is knowing about is like how I draw. It's like knowing is like you got the story right here, and then go ahead and add a little bit of detail. But let's just say this was like this will be like a hallway where that I remember that I would paste and drew a picture of myself right here. Right here is that to go ahead and color in a little bit. Let's see the photo of me. It is. But then this right here, you see it is that will be kind of like a good example right here of me. Is that you have right here is the arrows is knowing about this like if this was like the classroom floor, then this will be like the hallway floor at home it was. And I was that particular person a lot of times that would what you call want to pace the floor. And a lot of people, a lot of the teachers or whoever would want to be concerned about that and knowing about the fact that he's not interactive with all the other kids maybe like he should be, etc., etc. But then of course if it's a matter of if it's in, say in the heart or if it's in it's like so far as the type of cell that's in the brain it is. So you got the the see the cells right here to study about the cells, and then you got right here is the study about the lungs it is. But on the other hand too that knowing about is that about pacing is that knowing about you whenever you pace the floor the rate of movement and of course with the racing and the measure uh, and then of course walking or running maybe not really the color of your skin race but like the type of race talking about is like challenging I guess like a tag you say fast race tag challenging somebody it's like knowing about who can get there the fastest something like that. But then knowing about is like a lot of my teachers were more likely they would probably think about it's like let's hear about what you had to say, Matt. Let's hear it from your own words. My words about talk about it was pacing. Is it knowing about it's like is we call relieving relieving of course a lot of stress. Yeah, there may be some people that may think of it. It's like maybe like a type of words like for anxiety.
It's like if you got like a particular word like maybe anxiety or anything like that. But other than that, is that my own words, of course, can probably go on and on. But on the other hand, too, that knowing about is like the words that I would probably have for the word that's like so far was a story about it's like for pacing it is that knowing about if this was me right here, if this was me, and then knowing about with me is the question mark. It's like, what are you doing, Matt? Are you following the line, or what are you doing? And on the other hand, too, that I kind of looked at it as like knowing about, exciting. It's like getting exciting. Ex for exciting, for getting excited about something, and just knowing about the type of movement it is. Knowing about it's like if you do like what you call the movements between the back and forth, type movements. It is knowing about that. Yeah, that you go say hop from one corner. It's like step by step by step, and then knowing about exactly about really, but what causes it. But on the other hand, too, that I keep thinking about is like try to learn. It's like knowing about how to live a normal life instead of worried about maybe somebody picking on you, but the fact about that you like to climb the monkey bars, or you like to stand on your head a lot of times, or you like to spit out your tongue a lot of times, whatever it is. But then, of course, with my feedback, of course, about what you call is for pacing, it is, and a lot of teachers, way I think about it, is that whenever I was young, of course, that I like to know it about is like if it if like write a anybody would want to read a book, but my feedback it is knowing about that. Yeah, that if I were to be doing, I remember I did this whenever I was in high school. I actually wrote a few paragraphs about the study about frostbite it was, but knowing about if anybody were to want to read about the story about what I think about say where the word pacing it is. It's like I guess few people would probably think about is like it's a habit that you kind of pick up. It's like knowing about how that the brain corresponds. It's like knowing about it's like if it's really in the nervous system, if it's really in the nervous system for how your brain functions is. But other than that, you have right here is the brain right here, and then of course knowing about with me that if that particular thing that I was born with is knowing about the fact that yeah that with that particular brain is knowing about there are some things of course to be gifted by is knowing about between what you call it's like if you were born with some type of disease or some type of disorder, it is I just look at myself as enjoying and having a normal life instead of worrying about it seemed like a teacher or a counselor, whoever picking on you about the fact that you need medication. At the time it probably was a need, but at the time it's like thinking about it's like that yeah got picked on quite a bit, due to the fact because thinking about people probably think even the teacher was thinking about, some of that stuff is abnormal. And on the other hand, too, that knowing about if I had a lung disorder, but other than that, is talking about right here with disabilities, along with it's like the habits. It's one of them, of course, was talking about with pacing, and a lot of people probably think about it's like talking about it's like with pacing. It is basically means it's like whenever you follow, and then of course it could be the what you call is the direction. Follow the direction for where you think that what makes you interested in knowing about. It's like what saves is about the story about what you call is like the pace story. It is they talk about somebody like me is like able to draw. It's like whatever details. Knowing about me, it's like if I were to what you call get a nice computer. It is knowing about like with the computer that I do have is knowing about that. Yeah, I am that kind of I am kind of that person that's going to be like you know it's going to be like I can I can you look at this look at this like a high five high five. But other than that is talking about right here is like with the new stuff that I have is between like or high five high five.
But other than that, is talking about right here is knowing about right here is you have right here is that you got right here is the drawing, and then of course the way I've explained it's like a few whatever I could talk about is this like talk about is like with the story about it, it's like it's the pay story. It's like with my own words of saying about it is knowing about is like yeah that knowing about at least knowing about that I probably did a few things crazy whenever I was young, but then on the other hand too that knowing about is that with me that I may not have been that type of person that wanted to read books, but then of course it's like knowing about with the teacher it's like I want to show you what I can do, but other than that it's talking about it's like the story about the pacing and so far as all right, Mr. McGuire, you need to read the letters and then say numbers, or you read the number on the board. But other than that, it's talking about it's just like so far as like we all know, say when to respect the teacher, it is to respect the teacher, and by knowing about it, it's like so far as it's like you concentrate, you can do this. But other than that, it's talking about this like so far is with the pay story.